Hello, my dear audience, my dear fellow Californians, the fellow American citizens. Welcome back to the show, Jack Zhao, once again on politics, on the election. Right now, we're talking about going into November, and we are looking at the presidential election of 2016. And for that election, though, there's lots of important people we care about, especially for those who have proven to be successfully serving us for some wonderful years, like this wonderful woman in front of me, Congresswoman Grace Napolitano, who's been serving us successfully for a glorious 18 years. And she is now, of course, according to the rules of democracy, she is still doing her re-election. Right. If I were the one making laws, I would say just go ahead and do it because you proved you can do the job. All right. By that, I mean, welcome to the show, my dear friend, Congresswoman Napolitano, please.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure and it's an honor to be with you on the show. I've been here before, and it's always a great expectation of what you do in informing and educating the public, and I adore you for that. I just think you're wonderful.
Likewise, only even more, only even more. So my dear audience, you all want to know about our district, the 32nd district, and you all want to know about Southern California. So for that, I owe you a little background information about this wonderful leader, elected official of representing us. And she is, I just try to be as short as possible, otherwise I have to cancel the show to go with the list. Right? And she serves on the House Committee of Transportation and Infrastructure. Also, she serves on the House Committee of Natural Resources, and she is the founder and the chair of the Congressional Mental Health Caucus. That's more important than anything else I would like to emphasize on later. And her 2001 program was adopted for 4 schools and now taken into the foundation of the law, H.R. 1211. That's the Mental Health in School Act, which is the law that we all follow. She is the creator, and she is the one that established it, and the founder and the co-chair of Congressional Youth Challenge Caucus, and also a member and a former chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus.
Yes.
So may I stop here, please, because the list is too long.
Please do. I just want to talk about some of the things that you have an interest for the readers and the listeners.
I do. I sure do. To make a long story short, we want to cut to the chase, to right to the point. On the first page of your website, you have the following message displayed as your guideline. Quote unquote, one of the most important aspects of Congress is developing, making, and monitoring laws. As a member of Congress, I am actively involved in sponsoring and drafting legislation about issues that are important to you.
To the district, yes.
Yeah,
right.
All right. To your 18 years of glory, how do you interpret your own sentence, your own statement, please?
Well, that is because in the 18 years I've been managed to bring mental health to more openly in Congress. First, you don't hear about it, you don't talk about it, you don't see it, but it is something that's playing a great role in our everyday life with our children, with our veterans, and things like that. So we're working with partners like the World Boxing Council, like Meta World Peace, to reduce the stigma so that people can ask and get help. Then the Mental Health in Schools Act, it is placing clinicians on site in schools, and the county has been excellent help, and they have taken on the role of expanding that program into the 26 schools that we're now in. The Youth Caucus, the National Guard Youth Challenge Caucus, is a program federally mandated to the 75% match, 25% state match, and is to help youth at risk with discipline, with information, with education, with physical training, 22 and a half weeks of it, and it turns children's lives around and gives them a second chance. It's a free program in California. There's 2 of them. We have managed to pass the Hoover bill, the water Title 16, which is one of my priorities, is recycling the water because we are into a very, very heavy drought. And if we are able to recycle more water, we have more reliance on that rather than the imported water from Northern California, which they're all facing the same thing as we are in drought.
Yes.
But in transportation, we work with the Alameda Corridor East. We work on the grade separations. We work on the goal line extensions. We try to do a lot of things for a lot of people. It's what the district needs that we focus on. And that's what you've heard touch on.
Wow, wow. That sounds to be a very busy 18 years of service. Did you ever take a respite or something like that?
There's no time for vacations.
There's a lot to do. There's a lot to do, right?
There is a lot.
And we are so proud to have somebody like her quality, her capability to represent us. Otherwise, you're forgotten. We were a little earlier in office talking about certain district of the California. We're seeing some cultures kind of like we do not want that to be duplicated, which we want to get rid of. But in this, office, and with this wonderful lady of our United States Congress, Congresswoman Napolitano, I see the diligence and the due diligence.
Thank you. We worked on the Transportation Act. It's called the FAST Act. It's a 5-year federal bill. $305 billion. We were able, as a conferee, I was the only one from California to be in on it, and we're able to get $26 billion for California.
26 billion out of 350 billion.
305.
305 billion. Yeah, all right. That's a lot. That's a lot.
That's through the Transportation Committee that I sit on. And we also have oversight over EPA, which we have Chemetco out here we're having a problem with, and the Army Corps of Engineers, which deals with dams and water.
I see.
We're trying to get them to, in their dams, add to their function water saving, because their dams are only for flood control.
I see. That automatically stretches to my own concern about being a congresswoman representing a certain district. And yet, on the other side of the story is that you have those national bills to cast, right?
Yes.
So how do you evaluate between the two, called it by weight, though, to care about your own state, right? And also, if there is a bill regarding, say, back east in Virginia, something like that, how do you evaluate that? Because as a citizen myself, I do see something happen that our Californians are being neglected in certain part, in certain way, please.
Well, that leads to the fact that since I've been in Congress, I've stated 3 things. First, my district. Second, my state. And third, my country. And I've told the presidents, several presidents, this, that if they don't like that, they can go talk to my electorate because they elected me.
Okay, very good, very good. And I believe my audience, you all heard that. My district, my California, my country.
That is
Am
correct.
I right?
Correct.
All right, very good. So my dear audience, today with me is my wonderful friend. Firstly, I take her as my personal friend, yet she is a wonderful leader of Southern California, namely the 32nd District of Congressional District. And well, I was kind of touching base with her philosophically about how she weighs her job in between California and the state and her own district. And she lines up without hesitation. My district, my California, my country.
That is correct.
They're all equally important, but who comes first, you hear that.
That is my priority.
All right, very good. My dear audience, let's take a very short moment out. When we come back, I really have lots of questions to go with you, if you don't mind, please.
No, of course.
Thank you very much. We'll be right back.
Keep guns away from people that should not have them and or would use them to harm others. H.R. 1217 mandates universal background checks for all purchases. It's a step in the right direction and would move our country forward in beginning the process of addressing this epidemic that we're facing. We need real, constructive legislation. We need to prevent and lessen violence. We must keep guns out of the hands of people that should not have access to them, such as the dangerously mentally ill. Now, domestic abusers and people with violent histories also should not have access to them, and they currently do. Now, without stigmatizing those with mental illness, because then you have a problem on your hands. We need to inform, educate, and help young people, families, educators, those who are exhibiting emotional disturbance and some kind of exhibition, is helping them learn how to access information and assistance. And with that, I yield.
Hello, dear folks. Welcome back to the show. Jack Chow on East West Show with G&E TV. We care about you. We care about what you are interested in. And of course, we care about your right of democracy to choose the right one for the district to represent us. That is, I am joined with the loss of honor, Congresswoman Napolitano, Grace Napolitano of the 32nd District. And she's not only well, I don't think about she has any suspicion or trepidation or worry about the re-election. No doubt. Check my word on it, cast on it, please. There's no doubt about that. I'm only trying to borrow some thought from her to see how she represented us successfully for the past 18 glorious years. Right?
Thank you, Jack.
And
Appreciate
being
it.
on the committee, House Committee of Transportation and the Infrastructure, also you are on the board of the House Committee of Natural Resources.
Correct.
And also the water subcommittee of Water Resources, right? So California, you know, we do not only have a transportation problem, we have a water problem. How do you handle our water, please?
Well, there are several different ways that we've been trying for at least 14 years, and that's to increase the amount of recycled water. Recycled water is reused. It is sewage water, is commercial, industrial water, it is house water, and what they do is they put it through membranes and clean it. I equate that to Mother Nature. Mother Nature takes 100 years sometimes in mountains to filter it down to the rivers. We do it in less time. Well, that recycled water can be melded with potable water and is usable. We're trying to wean ourselves off of the imported water from Sacramento. It is more expensive and there is less of it now than before. So there is another bill coming up, WRDA, Water Resources Development Act. It passed our committee. It allows for more money to be used for different things of conservation, of water recycling, of things of that nature, but it also directs the Corps to add to their goals saving water, not just for flood purposes or for irrigation. There's a $375 million part in there for the Los Angeles River revitalization. Which is, I
the
said,
dry river. Already.
That is right.
The dry river, yeah.
They're trying to convert it.
Yeah.
They're trying to convert it, and this is part of that bill.
I see.
It's a bipartisan bill, and we hope to be able to pass it soon. Then, of course, there's my 291 with Senator Boxer. It is the water in the 21st century. That one assists the communities facing drought, much like ours, be able to have money for conservation, for education of people, how to save water, for recycling, for all those things that are going to help us deal with the drought in the coming years. There's grants like $700 million for loan guarantees and things of that nature that'll help our business, our water agencies be able to do a better job or increase their water saving potential. There's a $750 million for a Water Sense program, which incentivizes you or me or the public to buy water efficient products.
I see. It looks to me, Congresswoman, that the job is kind of divided into two categories. The category number one is that you cope along with the California water officials to see how they can do better job doing their job.
That is correct.
And on the other hand, you're trying to get the federal money to aid California to do a better job.
Yes.
Right? It looks like you are mixing the two and move them around at the same time.
It is cooperative. It is for California then to have their own bill to then add to what the federal government is doing.
I see.
And it helps the agencies do a better job. And really, there's been a lot of improvements in water in the last 10 years.
Just now you mentioned about the infrastructure and ground transportation. You're talking about getting $26 billion out of $305 billion, right? For this one, 715 million.
Well, there's more than that. There's other areas where there will be grants available for the state and the water agencies to apply. They have to apply.
Like a matching?
Yes.
Like a matching situation?
In some it's a matching, in others it is just a straight out grant.
In other words, you grab the money from the federal, say, hey, here's 50% of it, you guys go with another 50% of it, let's do the job. That kind of thing?
Right. In some it's 75-25.
Oh, who's 75? Who's doing 75?
Federal government.
Federal doing 75. That's even better, though. That's even better.
Well, it varies. It depends on the programs, and it goes for recycling and conservation. Mostly, they've gone into a lot of desalination also.
Yeah, you just now mentioned about recycling water. You mentioned about groundwater precipitation and also desalination, right? So, are you seeing California moving all the ways, all the
yes,
three ways?
California leads the nation in conservation and recycling, and other states are beginning to see how beneficial those are to their communities. In fact, California right now, and one of my staff members dealing with it with EPA, is called the MS4. It is a stormwater discharge that EPA is mandating every community not to let any contamination go in the sewer system to the ocean.
I see.
And there's a deadline of next year, and many cities are going to have to ante up millions of dollars. And so we're not fighting. We want to help the government, EPA, send clean water out to the ocean. But by the same token, we don't want the cities to go bankrupt because they have to pay for this non-funded mandate.
And also, of course, this is something out of your own reach because it's a local, it is California to the state level, though. You're talking about the money, water money, to be used for water purpose, not anything else. Do you see you're capable of stopping that, or at least slowing down that part? Kind of interfere, any way to interfere, please?
Well, the Northern California and Southern California have differences of opinion of who owns the water. And there is a conglomerate, Northern California, made up of billionaire farmers that want more water, but they have first rights, second rights. They're lower rights holders. They want to take over a lot of the water in California, which means there's less water for Southern California, because and we're fighting to ensure that it's open, that's transparent, that is fair. And Southern California is willing to pay for it, is willing to be able to get, but if I pay $1 for water, I want to ensure I get $1 worth of water, not just 50 cents on the dollar.
I see, I see. In other words, as a congresswoman, you call for transparency.
Much more.
And you call for discipline. $1 is $1. Don't give them 50 cents.
Well, we protect our rate holders, our rate payers, and we protect our citizens, because in the end, they're the ones who have to bear the brunt of any charges.
All right. I don't see you going across your line, but I do see it is quite necessary to call upon that, say, hey, we want the water dollar to be spent for the water purpose,
that is correct,
not for anything else, such as a bullet train or something.
Yes, that's another area of
Area,
contention.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, my dear audiences, I'm having a very wonderful time now, joined by a wonderful leader of Congress, Grace Napolitano, 32nd District. We're sharing her thoughts, her leadership, her concept, area to area, from area to area. Now we checked about the water and the resources. We're talking about some federal money, some local money, that is state money, be it 50-50 or be it 75-25. Anyway, it is money that she gets us. And then if we want to motivate the local water officials, we probably can do even a better job. And plus, we did spend some time talking about water dollars to be spent for water. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back, please. We're talking about her glorious years of the past 18, and she is running for her re-election, which I have no doubt about. I'm only saying that how California can see that with her aid, getting the federal money, the state can do a better job. Yes. This is the whole point, right? Now, of course, I'm very sorry. I have to be very pushy on questions because otherwise I won't finish. So the word mental health at this moment, when shootings keep occur on the more frequent basis, which is so negative
and bigger,
and a bigger way, I'm talking about, is this a necessary thing to make a clear distinction between which are those or which are the occurrences of the shooting are caused by mental problems, which are terrorist attacks, so that we clearly know where the enemies are and where the problems are. So your take, please, ma'am.
Well, there's a very distinct reason why we should reduce the stigma to let people know that it's all right to ask for help on the mental health side. The problem is there is racism, there is anger, and there is intolerance, and this is making it sound like they are mentally health challenged, and it's got to be a clear distinction. People with mental illness usually are victims. They're not the perpetrators. And so we want to change the dialogue on that and make sure that people understand that the mental health is not a reason for them to say that's why he did it. There's all kinds of other reasons, but it's an easy way for my colleagues on the other side to blame mental health, mental illness, and not deal with the gun control issue.
That automatically stretches to gun control issues, right?
Yes.
And I recall, if I ask you some question that is not on the list, am I all right? Okay. About the sitting on the floor, sitting off, all right, demonstration at the Congress.
Yes, the sit-in,
right?
the sit-in.
Yeah. So regarding two simple bills related to gun control, background check or mental health check, whatever, right? So as versus the question I just put forward. So how do you see the three of them? Mr. John Lewis, one of the leading persons on human rights and other areas. Out of Virginia?
He's
Alabama.
Georgia.
Georgia.
He and another member decided to go sit in the progress of the House in the floor because they wouldn't allow us to have any hearings, none at all. There have been 100 bills on.
Who are they?
The Republicans.
I see.
They're in control, and so nobody gets a
and
hearing.
Who is we?
The Democrats who want to get something done. I am a member of the gun rights, task force that is dealing with that. We've been having meetings for 5 years. We can't get anything out.
What was the argument?
NRA. They don't want anything.
NRA.
They don't want any
National Rifle Association.
Correct.
I see. Okay. So you guys called for restriction of gun ownership or gun purchase for
registration
for background check.
Correct.
For a mental health check.
Right.
And what did the other side say?
Nothing, except they won't give it a hearing. They won't put it on the agenda to have any kind of hearing on any committee or on the floor. And we've tried. So they did the sit-in on that. That's why Wednesday you saw the Democrats take control and say, enough, we want a hearing. And it was just on two very simple bills, and they still didn't want it.
Just the only two bills?
The only two bills, and they decided, no, shut the House down.
It's not a yes or no, it's that we are not hearing anything anyhow.
That is right. They don't want a hearing. They don't want to give the voice to anybody that borders on negativism against guns.
And it looks to me the challenge comes back to you, because you're the one doing the mental health thing, and mental health needs to be checked before a guy becomes the owner of a gun.
That is correct.
Of a certain gun. So, and the challenge looks upon you.
Well, there's very different laws in all states. There no two states are alike. They treat gun and mental illness differently. And we're trying to standardize it, but not even that is allowable. In other words, no hearings on how we can get standardization of any law. As inane and as simple as it can be, but they don't want to give it a hearing.
I see. Of course, I do understand, and we people do understand that laws are different from state to state, right? Or even sometimes city to city. Yet, there is always a standard to the, what we call the generalization. The degeneralization term being that when guy has a mental or lady or whoever individual has a mental problem, the act might be different, might be out of control. And for such a person to have a gun is risky. That's by common sense. Am I right?
That is correct. And that's what we're trying to avoid, is anybody who has reason not to have a gun, be it a complete mental illness or terrorism or people that shouldn't have, felons. What we want is to be able to restrict to those people only. Nothing to do with the amendment, the amendment that guarantees the freedom, the Second Amendment. Nothing against anything else other than just trying to set something in motion.
Exactly. In my word, I would have put it this way. Suppose if we did have an argument over the overturn or banning of gun ownership, that's totally one thing.
That's
we're
different,
right?
That is different.
And we're talking about, okay, of course, here's the constitutional right. Here's go ahead that you want to get a gun, you get a gun. However, we want to make sure the gun does not fall in the hands of somebody who has some mental problems.
Yes, and 90% of the Republicans want gun control. 85% of the general public wants gun control. Yet there is no way we can get anything out of the House. It is controlled. It is totally one-sided.
I see, I see. So as a congresswoman for that many years already 18 years already, let me ask a very stupid question. Do you find it is harder to make sense, or is it even harder to make common sense a senseful issue?
Common sense is an issue in Washington. We don't use it.
All right. I like this line to wrap up this segment. My dear audience, today I'm having a wonderful time with our representative at the Congress. That's Grace Napolitano, our wonderful Congresswoman of 32nd District. We're sharing a lot. And we came down to one point that we got agreement on common sense, which is the one that never accepted, sometimes having a hard time to be accepted at the Congress, like the occurrence of last Wednesday or Tuesday, anyway.
Wednesday.
All right. So let's take a very short moment now. We're not done with the mental health issue. There's a lot. Stay with us.
Keep guns away from people that should not have them and or would use them to harm others. H.R. 1217 mandates universal background checks for all purchases. It's a step in the right direction and would move our country forward in beginning the process of addressing this
epidemic that we're facing. We need real, constructive legislation. We need to prevent and lessen violence. We must keep guns out of the hands of people that should not have access to them, such as the dangerously mentally ill. Now, domestic abusers and people with violent histories also should not have access to them, and they currently do. Now, without stigmatizing those with mental illness, because then you have a problem on your hands. We need to inform, educate, and help young people, families, educators, those who are exhibiting emotional disturbance and some kind of exhibition, is helping them learn how to access information and assistance. And with that, I yield.
Hello, dear folks. Welcome back to the show Jack Zhao with East West Show on G&E TV. We're today talking about our Congress. Sharing great thoughts with us is our representative of 32nd District, Congresswoman Napolitano. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for representing us for the past 18 glorious years. I believe the 20th years is still yours. There is no doubt about that. And I only want to borrow some great thoughts about how we can be better off. Right. So now, speaking of the mental health problems, that's an issue. It has two parts. Number one, in general, we can call the whole thing, group of folks, the mental health problems affected group of people. But among them, there are veterans, which is a fact that I can't take. So how do you, as a congresswoman, take that as a fact? And how much do you do to go against it? Please.
Well, we have been working diligently for the last 8 years, working with the Veterans Administration in Long Beach and with the VA in Westwood, which reminds me, Westwood, that land belongs to the veterans and they better get it back. When we started working with the VA in Long Beach, we had a lot of complaints about the amount of time the veterans had to get return phone calls, appointments, medical treatment, you name it. And we've been working with them for a long time. So we started what we called a forum 5 years ago. We just held the last one last weekend, Saturday, at Azusa Armory, where we have the VA in Long Beach and Westwood bring in their people with their computers to work on cases for veterans. The mental health issue is a very important issue because we're finding out that they don't have enough trained psychologists to take care of all the mental health problems the men and women coming from Iraq and Afghanistan have had. They get medicated instead of getting treated, and we have still 22 suicides a day. It's intolerable. That's terrible. It is, and nobody's ever been able to find a reason for it. The fact is that we need to reach out to the veterans, young and old, find out what can help them, what is ailing them, what is on their mind, and give them numbers they can call when they have a problem. It may be a significant problem that grows into a big problem for them. It is a terrible thing, but it's still happening. We deal with our veterans. We make accessible. Hector from my staff is a veteran, and he handles all of the veterans.
A good friend of mine.
He's a great individual. He has made it his life's work to work with veterans and get him services. We work with the Vet Hunters, a group of volunteers that goes 24 hours, 7 days a week, looking for homeless veterans. And when they find them, they immediately try to get them help on the spot. They won't turn them loose until they help them out.
That's why lots of people say, when commenting you, say you seem to be doing the pinpoints. You pinpoint the problem, get to the cure to it, and get onto it right away. Right. I know shouting slogans are easy or easier.
I stay away from them.
But getting onto the point is the other. Okay, now here is a real problem that we as average people, average Joe and Sue, can never imagine. Suppose if you are in a lab to give you a sound that is as loud as a bomb next to you, like those folks experienced in the battlefront in Iraq or in Afghanistan, whatever.
You're talking virtual reality.
Yeah, you're talking about that, and then you will exactly feel how devastating that
Yes.
even one sound is
One.
to the rest of your life.
And they go through this. Then all the things they see, all the things that they are made to do because it is their job. And then coming back and telling them when they're under strict government control, they told when to get up, when to go, where, what to do. They come back to a family and they're turned loose, and you're on your own, you make your own decisions, and there is no transition for them. Sometimes it's hard for them, and they can't fathom that. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah, you're
change
right.
from military to service, to regular residential.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And also to think in their shoes, right? Now, you're coming back to an environment on which you were used to. You were out for many years. Instead, you spent years and months and years in that kind of environment.
Yes.
And they came back to that which you do not recognize that you have. And then you are diagnosed, or you are told you might suffer from PTSD, right? PTSD. Now, if somebody in the service, suppose if it does work, say, wait for 3 months and come back for the disc, right? I can wait because my mind is okay. In their mind, who is already a victim of PTSD though, they cannot wait for 3 months.
No, you can't. They're not supposed to have to. They've paid for that service. They must
All right.
get it immediately.
So I heard this congresswoman say loudly, they paid for the service. It is a moral issue.
With their service, yes.
It is a hard issue. It's a heartfelt issue.
We put them in danger, and then we expect them to come back
Why
out.
are we here to enjoy our freedom, enjoy our liberty, enjoy our right of democracy, in which or under which you can say whatever, whichever you want.
That's right.
You can block any bills you want to block. All right. Now, who did that? Who made that happen? And those guys, and those girls, and the boys, and the women in uniform,
And a woman.
who, of course, unfortunately, can come back home to face a dead wall.
Sometimes they can't talk about it, and they sleep with a gun under their head, or they jump at noises. They lose their families. They lose their business if they have business. They end up homeless.
Yeah. I had this conversation with this young man, 21 years of age, on my bus. I was doing a bus from Oklahoma back to Houston, that way thing in, and we had a long conversation. Guy talks about his comrades committing suicide.
Yes.
And upon suicide, they acknowledge each other, and some say, hey, let's go together, let's go hand in hand, boom, boom. They commit suicide.
Yes.
And while talking to me, I asked him, in your platoon, do you have one committing suicide? He kind of sprang up, jumping, bah, like that, with his head bumping with the shell. Who said that? Nobody did it. Like that guy. He's kind of overacting.
Yes.
Acting, right? So that tells yourself he is a victim of PTSD.
Yes.
For him to wait, sir, you come down. I didn't say anything wrong. Would he understand that?
No.
So, Congresswoman, I know that you are holding a very important job here. So continue doing the good job, please. Our folks need you.
Thank you. That's my job.
And I heard that a week ago, no, 1 day ago, 2 days ago, you and Judy Chu put the VA services into the valley, San Gabriel Valley, right?
Yes, we
Tell us
brought
something
it,
about that, please.
We held the forum, the fifth forum at the Azusa Armory. And colleges, universities, nonprofits, even some of the unions come out and offer jobs. We have the trailer from the VA offering health services. We had the director of the Long Beach VA and the regional director in. to see what goes on. We had a very large amount of people there to help veterans and their families. They do workshops for them to tell them what services they are sure to get because they've earned them. And tell the families where to apply and what to do. And the colleges, when they want to go to school, what they are offered. Most of the schools now are offering a veterans program so that it helps the veterans be able to learn or get information about how to get into the working society, because they have been out of it for so long.
It looks to me like a picture at the end of the finishing line of a marathon. Guy runs to the finishing line of a marathon, and then once he touched the line, though, he kind of clapped like that way. And then there goes two people kind of helping him, trying to walk him a little bit. Okay, I'm talking about all soldiers are touching the finishing lines. There got to be somebody supporting them. Am I right?
You're correct, and that's what we're trying to do in our area. So we're trying to get the community to respond.
What causes the lack? What is the lack? Money, or hands, or love, or care?
It's getting the word out to the veterans that there is help for them and where that help is. It's getting the media community to announce where their websites are. Many don't have computers. What about the radio? What about television?
They're too shocked.
Well, not only that, they are in a world of their own. They no longer belong there, and they don't belong here. They're in between.
I met with one. He told me that he can't stay in an environment that is too quiet. Neither can he stay in an environment that's too loud, noisy.
Yes.
So they're done. They're finished, right? And for them, we owe a lot.
Yes.
So.
Well, virtual reality helps them deal with it, the loud noises, and then bring them down off of it.
To comfort them.
Yes. There are several things
progressively.
They do Chinese meditation. They do pet therapy, the virtual reality. They also have the hyperbaric chamber for the traumatic brain injury. There's all kinds of things.
Now, once we discovered, like you launched your program of veteran hunt, which makes a lot of sense. They might not even know. They might just stay home, right? Suppose if they're lucky to have a home, they might end up on straight, right? We have about 30% of the 46,000 of homeless being veterans, home returning veterans. Okay, now, so suppose if they do know there's a service, and then for them to go under the procedure, like say,
a waiting list.
Waiting list, though. What cost the waiting list? Lack of money? Lack of system? Lack of people? Lack of what?
Sometimes it's a little bit of all. I found out in the VA in Long Beach several years ago when I went down, only 27% were veterans serving veterans. The rest were civilians. To me, if you want to have this empathy for the veterans, then you must hire veterans to do the work.
You're right. They know how exactly.
They know how. There is money. Congress has appropriated additional money for the VA to give services to them, but I don't know where that money is trickling down. I don't know if it's enough.
Or is that the same money like water dollars goes to water?
Well, that could be.
Veteran money goes to veteran? Or the veteran money doesn't go to Jack Chow?
Well, it goes where, I don't know. And what we're hoping is that enough money comes into the area where it's needed the most and most appropriate.
Very good. And really, Congresswoman, trust me, I wish to go on with you for a whole day on this issue. I feel kind of like I'm getting emotional about that issue.
Are.
It is so hard.
That's because you
heartfelt.
care.
It's pain right here, right? I got really, to be realistic, I really have to leave something for some little time for your re-election, please. Say something about that, please.
Well, no, all I want is to ensure that people register to vote. They have not registered. Minorities especially, because they say minorities don't vote. They have to have a vote. And when you look at the election, whether it's federal, the presidential, whether it's at state level, our level, at the Congress, ensure you know enough, and don't vote just on one subject, but be sure that the person that you elect is somebody that crosses all lines, services all people, and really does their job, not just in words, but in deeds.
Exactly, exactly. There is also a new law being called for a voting transparency that they call this morning voting transparency. Yeah, all right. That makes lots of sense, right?
Well, we hope that we'll be back here next year again.
Of course.
Hope you'll invite me again on your show.
Of course I do. All right. In that case, I have to keep calling your office every 5 minutes. Okay. And my dear audience, today is one of the real honor to have my leader, Congresswoman Napolitano, Grace Napolitano, visiting us, sharing her great minds, wonderful thoughts, and also her glorious 18 years of service. And I have no doubt about her re-election. I'm just trying to borrow her thoughts to share with my audience. See, we're thanking God for having for letting us to have such a representative, and we want to push her to keep on doing the job, especially on those important water issue, transportation issue, and the natural resources. Also, most importantly, mental health issue versus veteran issue.
Oh, definitely.
Please.
Definitely.
You got a big job to do.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for being a carrier of the word to the people. And transparency is so important.
Yeah,
we don't get enough of that.
Sure.
Most media, it doesn't make news. That they make the news, they don't tell the news.
All right, very good. Let's tell the truth. All right, how about that? Let's tell the truth. My dear audience, then we are over time, way over time, but worth it. So we thank you for watching, and to our Congresswoman Napolitano, thank you very much for coming on the show, for sharing your wonderful thoughts.
Thank you, Jack. It's a pleasure. Just real pleasure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.